Imagine a time when your refrigerator was just a giant block of ice and a tiny elevator carried dinner between floors. Today, we're looking at 10 household features that have quietly vanished from history.
These forgotten household features remind us that everyday life has changed dramatically over the past century. Many of them were once considered essential, yet today they survive only in old homes, museums, or vintage photographs. Looking back at them offers a fascinating glimpse into how people adapted to the technology and lifestyles of their time. Before electric refrigerators existed, iceboxes were a standard kitchen fixture. Also called cold closets, these non-mechanical coolers became widespread in the early 1900s. A large ice block sat in an upper compartment, and the chilled air drifted down to keep food fresh below. The walls were typically hollow, lined with tin or zinc, and stuffed with insulation, like cork, sawdust, or straw. Families had to swap out melted ice regularly, usually buying fresh blocks from a traveling iceman. This setup let perishables last far longer than older methods like smoking or drying. Although it seems inconvenient today, the icebox represented a huge improvement in food preservation. It allowed families to keep fresh dairy products, meat, and vegetables for several days, reducing waste and making everyday cooking much easier than in previous generations. Key adjustments for TTS. Although it adds a slight pause after the introductory conjunction to build anticipation. The icebox, represented, separates the subject from the verb to ensure the noun is articulated clearly. Vegetables, for several days, uses a semicolon and a comma to create a distinct break before the concluding benefits, preventing the sentence from trailing off. Much easier than adds a micropause before the comparison to emphasize the improvement. Transom windows, the small panes set above doorways in older buildings, were common before central heating and cooling existed. They could be tilted open for airflow while still keeping the door itself shut and secure. Because they sat high on the wall, they let light in without sacrificing privacy below. Special poles, called transom operators, were used to open them. Beyond their function, they added a distinctive architectural touch to a building's facade. These windows also reflected a time when buildings relied almost entirely on natural ventilation. Before electric fans and air conditioning became widespread, clever architectural features like transom windows helped make homes more comfortable during hot weather. During the 1700s and 1800s, owning a parlor signaled social standing. This best room in the house was reserved for greeting guests and showcasing fine furniture and artwork. It hosted major life events, weddings, births, funerals, and stayed closed off the rest of the time to keep it presentable. A parlor typically held a sofa, comfortable seating, and sometimes a piano. As televisions and other entertainment entered the home, the parlor gradually evolved into today's living room. For many families, the parlor represented their public image. It was often the cleanest and most carefully decorated room in the house, used only for special occasions, while everyday family life happened elsewhere. Servants' quarters, found in grand houses from the late 1600s through the early 1900s, housed live-in household staff. In smaller homes, they occupied the attic or basement. In larger estates, an entire separate wing. The arrangement kept workers nearby, yet hidden from the household's main living spaces. These spaces offer a window into past class divides and how domestic life has shifted over the centuries. As modern appliances reduced the need for large household staffs, these living spaces gradually disappeared. Today, they often serve as guest rooms, storage areas, or have been completely remodeled for other purposes. Before plumbing reached most homes, a washstand with a basin and pitcher was essential. Usually crafted from wood such as walnut or mahogany, this small cabinet table held water for morning and evening washing. It was part of daily routine until indoor sinks and running water made the setup obsolete. The arrival of indoor plumbing dramatically transformed daily life. Tasks that once required carrying water by hand became quick and effortless, making the washstand one of many household items that quietly faded into history. Coal chutes were a fixture of Victorian-era homes before electricity took over. Built into the foundation wall, these metal hinged doors opened into a slanted tunnel that coal delivery trucks used to drop off fuel. The coal landed in a basement storage room beside the furnace, often leaving the walls permanently blackened. Homes lacking a chute relied on workers called lumpers, who hauled coal in by wheelbarrow or sack. Wealthier households sometimes used a Riley stoker, a device that fed coal from a hopper straight into the furnace automatically. Coal heating required constant effort compared to modern systems. Furnaces had to be fed regularly, ash had to be removed, and dust was an unavoidable part of daily life throughout the colder months. Breakdown of improvements. Coal heating required added a comma after the subject to prevent the engine from rushing into the predicate. Effort compared, a comma here creates a natural bridge to the comparative phrase. Semicolons, used between the list items, fed regularly, removed, to signal a slightly longer pause than a comma, which helps the TTS distinguish between the three distinct tasks. And dust was, adding a comma after dust gives the noun weight before describing it. Daily life throughout, a comma before the prepositional phrase, throughout the colder months, helps the engine slow down for a natural concluding cadence.
Knob and tube wiring, used from the 1880s through the 1930s, was an early electrical system featuring single, insulated copper wires strung through walls and ceilings on porcelain knobs and tubes. It was cheap compared to other options of the era, but lacked a grounding wire and wore down easily over time. As power demands grew, it was phased out in favor of safer, modern wiring.
Many historic homes still contain sections of this original wiring, although most have been updated to meet modern electrical safety standards. It serves as a reminder of how rapidly electrical technology evolved during the 20th century.
Milk doors served daily deliveries in the days before refrigerators were standard. These small, insulated cubbies, built right into exterior walls, opened from both sides. Milkmen left bottles from outside, and residents retrieved them from within. The design protected milk from animals and theft, all without anyone needing to step outdoors. Daily milk delivery was once a normal part of neighborhood life. Before supermarkets became common, many households depended on regular deliveries of fresh dairy products directly to their homes.
In grand homes of the 1800s and early 1900s, the butler's pantry sat between kitchen and dining room, used for storing silverware, china, and serving pieces, as well as polishing silver and tracking inventory. In some households, the butler even slept there to guard the valuables. Today, butlers' pantries persist as staging areas for meals and extra storage. Modern versions are often much simpler, but they continue to provide convenient space for organizing dishes, preparing drinks, or keeping kitchen clutter out of sight during gatherings.
Dumbwaiters, compact freight elevators for moving food and goods between floors, were once common in multi-level homes and still appear in restaurants and schools today. Before electric motors arrived in the 1920s, they ran on ropes and pulleys. George W. Cannon patented the mechanical version in the late 1800s. Built smaller and simpler than passenger elevators, they typically carried loads of a few hundred pounds, easing the transport of food and laundry through large buildings. Their simple design saved time and reduced the physical effort required to move heavy loads between floors. Even today, they remain useful in certain buildings where transporting supplies efficiently is more important than carrying passengers.
Finally, picture rails offered a clever, damage-free way to hang artwork. These decorative wooden strips ran near the ceiling, letting people suspend pictures from hooks and wire instead of punching holes in fragile plaster walls. Common in homes from the 1800s and early 1900s, they blended practicality with style. Many historic homes still preserve their original picture rails, appreciated not only for their usefulness, but also for the elegant detail they add to traditional interiors. They are a small reminder that practical solutions can also become lasting design features.
If you enjoyed this look back, check out the next video and don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps a small channel.